My flight to Hearn was a good test of the cross-country capabilities of my new trike, but it took place entirely in fairly sleepy airspace. My next flight was a short evening run to Brazos Bend State Park, but it was significant for me as it would involve crossing Houston's Mode C Vale for the first time, something I wasn't able to do in my old trike. This was a really fun flight because it was almost entirely new scenery to me, and the low population density in this area made for plentiful landing options despite being inside the Mode C Vale. I planned the trip to Huntsville just north of Houston for my next flight on April 12th, staying west of Sam Houston National Forest on the way up and crossing the Mode C Vale again on the return to check out Lake Conroe. However, I encountered a large fire upwind of the airport. Apparently, the Forest Service was conducting a controlled burn in Sam Houston National Forest. Having dealt with having to cross smoke from a similar fire in the past, I opted to abort landing at Huntsville, only going as far as Lake Conroe. I still returned via the planned route down the Grand Parkway, but made a short detour east down I-10 to check out Barker Dam. We used to launch hang gliders off the dam many years ago to get some foot launch practice, being that the region is flat, but I'd never been more than a few feet off the ground here. In any event, flying over such a densely populated area in a trike was somewhat surreal and a little nerve-wracking my first time. My route took me near several Class D airports, and I was monitoring tower frequencies and the traffic display on my EFIS in addition to visual scanning the whole way. I planned another attempt at Huntsville on April 22nd due to very light winds in that direction. This time, however, I would add on a trip to Lake Livingston, the third largest lake in Texas. The flight would take about 4 hours, which is a little outside what I'm comfortable doing on a single tank of gas, so I would bring with me a 6-gallon jug of fuel and transfer it to the main tank at Livingston Municipal Airport before flying to Lake Conroe and returning via the Grand Parkway as with my previous flight. The grass runways here are Gloucester Aerodrome. Since flying over places I used to hang glide is becoming a theme of my videos, I'll mention we used to aerotow from this airport many years ago. Here's Fairweather Field with its water runway. This airfield belongs to the Soaring Club of Houston. If only we had enough interest in hang gliding to support a facility this nice. I eventually found my way to Huntsville Municipal. With trees on either side of the runway, I was glad wind was light. I rounded out a little too high, so this wasn't my best landing. Naturally, I had an audience on the taxiway. After that, it was onward to Lake Livingston, first crossing over the Trinity River, which was dammed to form the lake. Making my way to the east side of the lake, it was time to refuel at Livingston Municipal. I wasn't expecting much traffic here as it's a small airport without a taxiway, but I found myself landing between a Cessna and a King Air. With a King Air hot on my heels, I decided to taxi to the small ramp at the south end of the field to refuel rather than turn around and back taxi. As I was finishing up, an ultralight pilot landed and taxied over to the ramp. I wonder if he was just wanting to get a closer look at me. At any rate, he took off in the opposite direction, which was no issue given how light the wind was. I decided to follow suit, which made for a really nice view departing over the lake. Lake Livingston Dam is located on the south side of the lake and is a hydroelectric power plant. This plane over here was practicing ground reference maneuvers. I next headed west to Lake Conroe. I suppose I should mention that we used to tow hang gliders out of this lake as well. Here's where I came to the Grand Parkway, which I followed south until I was clear of the suburbs. The highway provided a landing option in the event of no suitable nearby fields. Winds really picked up as the sun set, and I made it back just before dusk. This was my most epic flight to date and gave me confidence in executing longer flights requiring refueling, in addition to, along with my previous 2 flights, providing valuable experience flying in more congested areas in complex airspace.